Welcome to LMC-TV, LMC Media live community conversation with our municipal leaders. I'm Maura Carlin, with me is Mike Witch. We have Town of Mamaroneck Supervisor Nancy Seligson, Village of Mamaroneck Mayor Tom Murphy, and Village of Larchmont Mayor Lorraine Walsh. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We're going to start with you giving us updates of what's changed since we last chatted last Thursday night. And Nancy, I'll start with you and the Town of Mamaroneck.
Sure. We've decided to open up the town center for business and for employees for 5 days a week. We had closed previously Tuesdays and Thursdays for the past several weeks, but we've decided to open starting next Monday, May 4th, to be open 5 days a week. You still will only be able to access departments through appointments. So appointments only in order for the public to access the building or specific departments. But we have someone greeting people at the front door, and you're welcome to come in if you need to drop something off or pick something up, or if you want to make an appointment, that's fine. And so we will be conducting business 5 days a week now, which is a good improvement and a nice change, because it's pretty hard to get things done when you only are open every other day. So that's one of the things. The other thing we've done in the town that affects everyone is that we've changed the taxable status date for residents. So
Can you explain what that means?
So that means that it's moved up for 1 month, and that allows people to file for exemptions. It gives them another month to file for exemptions, and also will give people more time to prepare or file grievances if they want to, because that will change as well. So it's just to give folks a little more time.
Okay. Thank you for that. Tom, you tell us changes in the Village of Mamaroneck.
Well, the Village of Mamaroneck passed its budget on Monday night. The budget, we had to cut over $2.5 million from the tentative budget to the passed budget. But this enabled us to almost keep the tax rate completely flat. I think the effective tax rate to our residents will be 0.18. So it's, almost
Wow.
0.2% of a tax increase, which is, as close as you can come to zero. And I want to thank the staff and the department heads and my colleagues for working hard on this. There were, the village had been on an upward trajectory to modernize and to improve our services to our residents. And while this won't be a step backwards, it'll be a plateau. And, we won't be making major improvements this year. But, you have to do what the times demand. And then there was a very successful food giveaway in Harbor Island Park on Tuesday. We had over 620 residents receive a very hefty bag of food. Unfortunately, we ran out before the crowd ran out. And what that shows is while there's an increase in capacity of what we can do to help, it's being outpaced by the increase in the need of the residents in this community. So, we're working on trying to get more funds, and trying to get a system where no one goes hungry. No kid in this community should go to bed hungry, and that's the goal at the end of the day here. And the last thing I want to talk about is there's a Gofundme starting, and it's starting to. The purpose behind it is to provide meals to first responders, the village's EMS, and the village's police department. I'll be posting more about this on social media, but this is a way to say thank you to folks who have worked very hard, who have come face to face with the illness, and have had to take extra precautions and had to confront a very dangerous situation day in and day out. Those are
Tom, the village manager issued an emergency order on the 27th. Is there anything in there that you want to highlight for us about closing the village, who's allowed into buildings?
I think that there isn't much to change. He has to renew it every 5 days.
Ah.
So I think he was just renewing it, but he's making plans to open up the village more, I think, come May 15th.
Okay.
And I know.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Lorraine?
Yes.
want to update us on the Village of Larchmont?
Sure. So to follow up on the Village of Mamaroneck there, made a declaration of state of emergency April 1st, and that declaration has to be renewed every 30 days. It's only good for 30 days. So I renewed that effective tomorrow. The only executive orders that have run off of that state of emergency so far have been the total ban on the use of leaf blowers in the Village of Larchmont, which I have to renew every 5 days. And I have continued to do that. The Village of Larchmont also adopted its budget this week on Tuesday evening. We projected an $800,000 revenue shortfall. So we made those cuts to our tentative budget for the adoption. And the increase in our tax levy was reduced from what it was before to 1% increase. So a pretty level budget, but we are anticipating potentially additional loss in revenue. We'll monitor our revenue income on a bi-weekly and monthly basis. And we do still have some capital projects in the budget, which we can defer or forego completely if we find that we need to increase our cash flow from that standpoint. And finally, a great piece of news, great in these horrible times, but a 501c3 local to Larchmont, which is called One Larchmont, has set up a GoFundMe. It goes live tomorrow, so it's onelarchmont.org. You'll be able to go to that site. It's for people to donate, and the donations will be given as grants to Larchmont businesses to try to keep people afloat during this crisis. So tomorrow, please, everyone, go to onelarchmont.org to donate. And businesses can apply through that site as well.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you about. Mike, did you have a question for us?
I do. A question came in from one of our viewers, and it was about the opening of the marinas. We have private marinas in the Mamaroneck Village, but there's also the ramp at Harbor Island and the marina there. And this was a question that he wanted us to ask Mayor Murphy. Is the Harbor Island Marina open now?
I don't think it'll be open until May 15th. I will check on that, and if I'm wrong, I will post it on my social media. But right now, I believe it opens May 15th. And we're doing a big piling project in the harbor right now.
And are the private marinas like Nichols and McMichael's and Beach Point Yacht Club, Brewers, are they open?
Well, yeah, I believe that we don't control them, but I believe that the governor has allowed them to open.
Okay, thank you. And I'm here for anyone who has a question that they'd like to ask tonight. You can email it to lmctv@lmctv.org, and we'll try to get an answer for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Nancy, you got some masks this week. Can you tell us about that and how they're being distributed?
Sure. The county executive, George Latimer, along with Catherine Parker, our county legislator, came to distribute masks to the town of Mamaroneck this past week, as they did to several other communities. We have a total of 3,500 masks that we got from the county. They were manufactured and donated by Haynes Corporation, the one that makes garments, as County Executive Latimer says. And they're really nice white masks, really comfortable. They're washable, and we're very happy to receive them because we do need them. So we are going to offer them for distribution to residents starting Monday, May 4th. They're going to be at the town center. We're going to, it's a first come, first served basis. We're going to limit the distribution to 1 packet per household. Each packet has 5 masks in it. We also have distributed them to our Meals on Wheels folks, our seniors who have been participating in the congregate meals, who now are getting meals through Meals on Wheels. and some other special senior groups that we know through community services. We've also distributed them to our staff, and we're always, of course, making sure that our first responders have enough masks, but they do. So we're happy to offer these to the public. And, of course, we all want to recommend and encourage folks to wear masks when they're out in public and going to be closer to people than 6 feet apart.
Do any of the municipalities have rules about entering their village or town halls, town center with a mask?
Yes. We set up at the very beginning of this a desk behind a plexiglass shield in our lobby, and everyone has to stop there before they can enter Village Hall at all. But we have signs up now on the door, and you cannot come into Village Hall without a mask.
Any rules in the village of Mamaroneck?
Well, you pretty much can't get into a village office now without having you can't get into a village office. We have a window here at 123 Mamaroneck Avenue at the Regatta where people can be serviced, but it's a big window. It's like almost like a bank teller situation. And if you're going to the police station, they will come out. If you're going to the building department, they will come out and talk to you. But I'm sure that when we will be reopening and allowing people in, we will require masks.
Nancy, are there rules at the town center?
In the town, it's the same situation in that you can't really enter the building. You can come to the front desk where we have someone who's acting as a receptionist for people. And so far, I must say that I've only seen people come in with masks, but we don't have a hard and fast rule. Although if you were to walk through the building, you would have to have one if you had an appointment in a department, because the chance of encountering someone in a hallway could be likely. So we don't have a sign up to say that you must wear a mask, but certainly the person greeting people would tell them that they would have to. And I have been pleased to see that everyone that I've seen walking into the building to deliver something or pick something up has been wearing a mask.
Okay.
We also, I'm just going to add that when we open up 5 days a week next week, we are planning to put those plastic partitions in any and all of the offices that need them. Offices that deal with the public where you could have an appointment and have someone visit, or also offices where folks, share a space. Although we are lucky in the town center that we are able to do a pretty good job of keeping people 6 feet apart at their workstations.
Any or all of you discuss the kinds of assistance that's available to community residents who may not be able to get out to get to a doctor if a doctor is going to see them, or get to go food shopping? I think there have been some initiatives around for rides or for shopping.
There's the ride share program, Nancy. I believe the town of Mamaroneck just sent out an email on that service, and we've posted it to Love Larchmont and Facebook pages for the village residents as well. That's run through the county, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're still giving rides to people.
They also have, I think they've also expanded to help people with grocery shopping as well.
There are also some kids who've started a program to help older folks if they need shopping services, to do some errands for them. There's also West Fair rides. There's actually several ride services that are available, and anyone can call the Community Services Department in the town of Mamaroneck. Anna Denoy is the director, but speak to anyone there, and they would be able to identify and connect them with a service for whatever kind of ride they need, whether it's to a doctor or to shop. Really, those are the only two things we're allowed to go out for.
People can also visit the website for the Center for Aging in Place, which has a lot of good information and links to various services throughout the county.
And at home.
Yes, And I think we
Right,
all put those on our websites
We
recently,
did. Mhm,
last week, because they updated their list of services.
mhm.
And you know what, I just want to remind people that if the people are having a tough time coping, which is understandable, that the Community Counseling Center is offering, to see people for free or a very nominal cost. If you need a hand, if there's stress in your family, this is a hard time for everybody, especially hard for kids. And families are spending a lot more time together than they used to spend together, and that sometimes can cause tension and problems. So if your family's having a problem, or if you're having a problem individually, please reach out to the Community Counseling Center in Mamaroneck on Stanley Avenue, and they will provide somebody that you can talk to and kind of guide you through this, because this is hard, and it's stressful, and it's been going on for a long time. And we have to be mindful too that there's a lot of people who are in abusive situations, and they are now locked at home with their abuser. So there's always My Sister's Place and places like that to help folks who are in that situation. And I just want to remind folks that if you're in that situation, there is help. You can reach out to our police department, has a domestic battery unit, and don't get hopeless, because there's always somebody there to help.
Thank you,
I
Tom.
agree, and we really want to encourage people to call our offices if they find themselves in a desperate or needy situation, because we can direct them to the appropriate help, and we are here to help. That's one of our most important jobs.
Absolutely.
Tom, I wanted to come back to the Hunger Task Force and food insecurity. As you talked about, they ran out of food. They didn't have enough food for everyone who showed up for food. Can you tell us how to get involved, or what people can do to help?
Well, you can go to the Larchmont Mamaroneck Hunger Task Force website. A lot of people want to get involved in the actual giving out, and I understand that, but you kind of have to be trained, and there's a limit to the number of people. But I will let them speak to that. But I do know, the best way to help right now is to get money. They really need money. They really need resources. So if you're working and you're lucky enough to still be working, please dig in a little bit. If you're lucky enough to have ample resources, charity begins at home. And we have people in this community who are hungry, and we are too wealthy in the aggregate to allow that to happen. So please, no kid in this community should ever go to bed hungry. And I don't want to see that happen. The most dangerous person in the world is a hungry person with no hope. So we want to make sure everybody's fed. We want to make sure that everybody's basic needs are taken care of.
It's sort of ironic and a little painful to think about and hear from all the people who want to participate, who want to volunteer, who want to help, when there is no real physical job for them, because we are social distancing, and especially with seniors. I know a lot of folks who really want to help seniors, but it is a vulnerable population. You do need to be trained. You need to be vetted. We can't just accept everyone who'd like to do something, as well-meaning as they are. So it's very frustrating sometimes when we hear from folks. But I agree with Tom. They really do need donations and that kind of help right now.
We have a question.
Yes, Mike? Go ahead.
We have a question from the School of Rock, and that is there a way to help young students' mental health support that we can help support as a music school? And Vanessa there says she's happy to volunteer.
I think that sounds like a great offer.
Yeah.
It does.
You know what? The School of Rock is in the village. If Vanessa wants to contact me tomorrow, we'll talk about opportunity. I'll tell you what. For me, music is a balm. It's a relief. It's a way to calm myself and a way to get out of my trouble sometimes. So if we could spread that around to people, that would be great. My music catalog stops at 1989. There's literally like nothing in there past 1989.
I'm going to turn to something a little more mundane, but I've seen questions about this, which has to do with parking for the village of Larchmont and the town of Mamaroneck, train station parking. And for the village of Mamaroneck, are you planning on turning the meters back on? I'll start with you, Lorraine, on this one. The village of Larchmont train station parking passes, permits expire in a month, right?
Yes, they expire at the end of May. And actually, we'll be going live on Monday with our new online permit purchase portal. So that's a lot of P's. So people will be able to purchase their new permits without having to come into Village Hall. Those would become effective June 1st.
Okay.
So we'll be putting those announcements out either tomorrow or Monday morning, and it'll go live next week for that.
Hey, Nancy, I think the town parking permits expire earlier than that, like today or tomorrow?
I don't know the exact date, I'm sorry, but we have made arrangements for people to be able to renew. Well, first of all parking permits are extended, I just remembered, to expire June 30th. So,
Okay.
so that's a month later. So they were going to expire May 30th. But we're also offering the opportunity then to buy a 7-month permit or to buy a 18-month permit. And that is so that we can bring the permitting process to a calendar year finish so that they can all expire at 12/31. And actually, it seems like this time around, it's a good option to decide for yourself whether you'd like to have the shorter one or the longer one. But the longer one guarantees you the price for that longer period of time, whereas the shorter one does not.
Okay. Now, Tom, the situation's a little different in the village of Mamaroneck. I think your train parking permits turned over before the pandemic really hit us, right?
Yes,
But you've
part-
turned off your parking meters. Are you planning on turning them back on? Are there plans in the works?
There isn't an immediate plan, but I think that there has to be, as businesses come back, as the avenue gets more busy. See, the parking meters serve two purposes. One of the purposes that it keeps traffic moving, right? So somebody can't park there all day and take up a spot so that business person can't have customers, right? So that's and the other thing that it does, and I'll be quite frank, is it's a very healthy stream of revenue. That is somewhere between 8 and 10% of the revenue that the village brings in, between the meters and the tickets. And we've lived without it now for a couple of months, and it's hard and it's hurting. So I think I don't think it would be responsible to say we're never going to put the meters back. The meters are definitely going to come back, but they will come back at a time where it's appropriate and at a time where hopefully there'll be a little more relief in the community. So there's not an immediate plan, but they're coming back.
Okay. So we have about 5 minutes left, I think, and I'm going to let you turn it to the census, make your pitches, explain why you want everyone filling out the forms for both you personally and for the community. Nancy, you can start.
I better go first here. The town is at 62.3% response rate as of today. Sounds pretty good, but we want to get to 93% or higher. This is the most important thing folks can do right now, and pretty much the easiest thing they can do right now. The census determines our financial aid from the state and the feds for the next 10 years. It also determines our representation in Congress and the state legislature. So it has huge, huge ramifications for all of us. Me personally, Lorraine has pushed that we have to have an ongoing bet between the three communities. And she has suggested that the community that loses, meaning they have the lowest response rate, will participate in the dunk tank in Larchmont at their Larchmont Day. I don't ever want to be in a dunk tank. So I reached out to my constituents and residents and pretty much pleaded with them to fill out the census.
But that means you accept my bet, right? You
I
accept the
think I
terms
did,
of my
sort
bet.
of.
We still have to hear if Tom Murphy accepts the terms of the bet. But I mean, it's, you know, we can say it's always, always important to have an accurate census count. But right now, with the uncertain financial circumstances and the shortfall in revenue that we're looking at, to a large extent due to sales tax reductions, it's really important that we get a complete count. It determines our proportion of sales tax that come from the state into the county and to us. It determines our funding for AIM money from the state, you know, our unrestricted money funding that comes from the state. I mean, so many ways it will affect what the municipal governments are able to do. And beyond that, it affects how our schools are funded. It affects how our hospitals are funded. And our representation is really important. I mean, it's clear, more clear every day, how important it is to have competent federal representation.
I agree. Ditto to everything they just said. I couldn't even really expand upon it. They're both absolutely right.
What
And I will
percentage
say this,
are the two villages at?
What? I
What
think
percentages are you at?
we are 0.1% ahead
Of who?
of you.
Of whom?
Yeah, I think I didn't check today, but I think we're at 59% right now.
Yeah, I think we were at 60.
So what would you say to someone who's afraid to fill it out or who finds the questions perhaps a little invasive? What's your pitch to them?
My pitch to them is this: no one can access that information by law except the United States Census Bureau. We can't access it. The FBI can't access it. The CIA can't access it. ICE can't access it. The state government can't access it. The only people who will ever see that is the bureaucrats in the Department of Census.
And that's ironclad.
That's ironclad. It's ironclad. And that's a guarantee. So, you know, don't be afraid. You know, so if you're not a citizen, you still have to fill it out because you're a resident.
You're a resident.
It counts the people living here. It gets a snapshot of who we are, how we're living, and how we're going to be, you know, what needs we're going to have in the future. So please fill it out. Don't be afraid of any repercussions. You know, if you're a tinfoil hat kind of person, don't be afraid of, you know, the Big Brother's taking over. The Big Brother's already taken over a long time ago. Don't worry about that. But you please fill it out.
We want to support every
It's only
here. You know, it doesn't matter what your documentation status is. If you live here, we want to support you. We want to take care of you. We want you to be part of the community. And we need you to fill out the census in order for us to be able to do that, because we won't have the resources, the necessary resources to do it unless everyone fills it out.
absolutely. And there's only 10 simple questions.
Yeah,
So it only takes like 5 minutes. They're not invasive questions. It's just 10 simple questions to gather information about who's living in your household and the demographics of that.
Right.
But you can go, you don't have to have a letter. You don't have to do it by paper. You can go online at www.2020census.gov.
You're good.
Fill out your form right there.
You're good.
Thank you.
You know, another reason I just remembered that it's all confidential is that the data is collected in blocks. So the blocks are about 600 people per block.
Mhm.
And, you know, depending on where you live, that could be a block or it could be half a block. It could be, you know, a quarter of a block. It could be a mile. So it's very, very difficult to actually pinpoint who anyone is in that block. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do it, but that's one of the other ways that it is so confidential, that it's not based on individual identity. It's just based on numbers.
Mhm.
But if you fill it out online, they do, I believe, ask for your email address and your address.
Well, that's because if they need to get back to you for any, if it wasn't filled out properly, or they need to follow up. That's why they're asking for that. But it's only has to do with the census and with counting.
Well, thank you all. It is 8 o'clock, so it's time for us to wrap. Mike, I take it no more questions?
Well, no more questions, but I did want to mention if Matt Sullivan, our executive director, were here, he would tell you that next week on LMC, you could look forward to a interview with the people in Mamaroneck Village who started that food for our first responders. And also, I think, Mr. Mayor, you officiated at the renewal of some wedding vows. We have an interview with the bride, and also the library is making some recommendations, and they'll be on our social media and our website. And meetings, municipal meetings will also be carried. And lastly, the World Health Organization had named this the Year of the Nurse. What a name, and well deserved. And LMC is working on a program to honor our local nurses. And so if you've got a nurse in the family, or you know a nurse and you've got a photo you can send us and a story you can send us, please do so. Send it to LMC-TV at lmctv.org. And thanks to Mr. Mayor and Miss Mayor, excuse me, and Mr. Mayor and Madam Supervisor for spending the time. And thanks Maura, excuse me, for volunteering to host tonight's meeting.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Right.